to Cine Crave. Today, I will show you a biography comedy drama film from 2011 titled The Untouchables. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. One late night in Paris, Driss is driving his employer Philippe through the city. When waiting in traffic gets too boring, Driss breaks the speed limit and begins driving quite fast, dodging other cars and not caring about traffic signs. This causes the police to go after him, and Driss bets 100 euros that he can lose them. But after driving under a bridge, the cops catch up by ambushing them from both sides. Driss doesn't look too worried though, and this time he bets 200 euros that he can get them an escort. The cops make him leave the car, and he starts acting then, behaving offensively and telling them Philippe can't move and he was taking him to the hospital. The officers find proof of this when they find the wheelchair in the truck, and when approaching Philippe, they see him convulsing, which is also an act. Seeing as it's an emergency, the cops forgive Driss for breaking the speed limit and offer themselves as escorts on his way to the hospital. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind & Fire, and when they arrive at their destination, he shares a smoke with Philippe as soon as the cops are gone. Driss promises he'll handle it and drives them away just before the hospital staff could find them. This friendship began many months ago. Philippe and his assistant, Magali, are holding interviews to find a new caretaker for him, but it isn't going too well because all applicants have very standard or awkward answers to their interview questions. But they're suddenly surprised when Driss storms in, ignoring the fact that it isn't his turn quite yet because he only wants some papers to be signed saying they won't hire him so he can get the unemployment benefits. He's blunt and a little rude, even hitting on Magali, but Philippe finds him amusing and asks him to come back the next day for his signed papers. Driss goes back to his home in a humble neighborhood and tries to take a bath while all his little siblings bother him, only managing to get it done in time thanks to his sister Mina, who was a bit older than the others and more responsible, while waiting for their mom to arrive. He looks through the window and notices his brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car. When the boy enters the apartment, he just says he was at school and leaves again after grabbing his bag, causing Driss to be even more sure that he's up to something. In the evening, his mom arrives and he gives her a Fabergé egg he stole and tells her he's been away on vacation when she asks. She isn't happy to see him though, because he disappeared for 6 months and never called, and now he's shown up out of nowhere as if her home was a hotel. As she's absolutely done with all his lies and she has other children she has to take care of, she kicks him out and tells him not to come back. Driss spends the night having a smoke and some snacks with some neighborhood friends. The next day, Driss goes back to Philippe's house for his papers, and he's received by the housekeeper Yvonne, who shows him around the place and tells him about Philippe's daily routine. She also shows him the room he would get for himself with his very own bathroom. Driss can't help staring at the bathtub before he's dragged to see Philippe, who offers the signed sheet of paper but also a job opportunity. Driss accepts the 1-month trial, and Philippe tells him he bets he won't last 2 weeks. After bringing his things to his room, Driss is taught how to take care of Philippe. He must learn how to keep his legs stimulated, how to put him in the wheelchair, how to help him shower and change his clothes. Things get awkward when Driss discovers he must put on some high stockings and even clean Philippe after he uses the bathroom. But no matter how much he complains and says he won't do those chores, he ends up accepting them as part of his job. Later in the evening, while he's enjoying a snack on the roof, he's interrupted by Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien, who are looking for a private place to make out, and he kicks them both out after refusing to share his beer. Driss quickly gets used to the daily routine with Philippe, even if at first he does make some mistakes he learns from, like handing the phone to Philippe instead of putting it on his ear, or forgetting the baby monitor while having a bath. He also learns to organize Philippe's mail in different folders. Most of the letters he opens for Philippe, but there's a series of private ones he isn't allowed to look at. When he finds a flyer promoting female escorts, he decides to start a file just for those instead of throwing them in the trash, as Philippe says. It's not all work in this new life though. Driss still makes sure to have a good time. He keeps trying to hit on Magali to no avail, and sometimes calls escorts to join him in bed. One morning, after Yvonne comes to his room to scold him for being late, she finds some dangerous weapons in his bag, but she doesn't comment on them yet. Driss's job that day is to drive Philippe around, but he refuses to put him in the back of a van like he was cargo, so instead, he takes him in one of the fancy cars that don't see much use. Philippe, who first thinks this isn't suitable and says they should be pragmatic, is soon getting excited at the idea of a faster, less boring ride, although Yvonne still disapproves. When they try to leave the building, there's a neighbor parked at their entrance, ignoring the sign on the door that says it's forbidden. Driss wastes no time and goes after the guy, grabbing him by the front of his shirt and threatening him until he moves the car. Philippe is impressed by his actions, but Yvonne once again disapproves. The pair goes to a museum where Philippe is planning to buy a piece of artwork that Driss considers not worth the money because it's just a red blotch on the canvas. Philippe meets with a relative of his who tells him everyone is worried about Driss since he can be violent. He's also discovered he has a criminal record.